All right, we're back for round 2 of Versus Live. I am Todd Anderson.
I'm Ross Marion.
And that's Nick Miller over the booth. Say hi, Nick.
Welcome. Hello.
It's
hello.
the sideboard. It's where Nick Miller is.
Yeah, there's no booth over
There is not a booth. You're right.
Yeah.
There's just a table with about 17,000 gizmos on it, gadgets.
Nowhere I work in a sideboard there's ever a booth. Like even at
Well,
the
do you
open
not call Cedric and Patrick being in the booth? Is that not a booth?
It's not enclosed. Like
It's like 3/4 of the way enclosed. There's a thing behind them, the director's table next to them, and a table in front of them. That's 3 or 4.
I like to think of booths as being sort of like soundproofed.
Oh.
Or some sort of
Well, that seems
full
very
enclosure.
specific.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough of that nonsense. We are here for round 2. I am playing Golgari Midrange, and this is the deck that has defined standard basically since week 1, where it took down the Magic Online PTQ. I believe either week 2 or week 3, it took it down again, but it was a significantly different version of the deck, featuring Doom Whisper. The first week, it was way more about Planeswalkers. Second week about Doom Whisper, and third week, and since then, it's really been about Carnage Tyrant, oddly enough, since it was so good in the mirrors alongside things like Fine Finality, where you would sweep the board, put some counters on Carnage Tyrant, and just win through damage, you know.
Yeah, ends up being that Carnage Tyrant is good against Planeswalkers. Planeswalkers are good against sort of normal grindy builds because they grind harder than anything. And then we've had people have to move away from Planeswalkers, go back towards sort of Wild Growth Walker, actually, to build their own battlefield and protect against Carnage Tyrant. And so there's been this weird cycle in how Golgari decks have been built in order to approach the mirror. And now we're seeing, because they've spent so much time devoted to figuring out the mirror, other decks find holes that they're leaving and be able to get in and perform well. They've had holes against Takali Honor Guard. If they get too low to the ground and away from Planeswalkers, they get worse against control decks, as long as the control decks can handle a Carnage Tyrant, which is difficult, but not impossible.
Oh, no, I mean, from my perspective, the Golgari decks, I'm actually way more afraid of a resolved Vraska Relic Seeker than I am of a Carnage Tyrant, because, you know, my deck is built with big, hard to deal with threats in mind. You know, I have either Settle the Wreckage or Cleansing Nova. I have Deafening Clarion plus copy it with expansion to double sweep. And the fact that I have all this, as well as, just a bunch of spot removal to keep my life total high, I have time to find the answers to the Carnage Tyrant. It really comes into play when a Planeswalker hits the battlefield against control deck and starts to generate advantage. You start to fall behind as a control deck, looking for not only the answer to the Planeswalker, but the answer to the threats that it will leave behind. And if you're at a low enough life total, when you do actually find the answer to the Planeswalker, it's usually too late.
Yeah, they've generated just too much value. So that cycle is something we've seen a lot play out over the last, 4 weeks or so. And now we're at a point where Golgari doesn't have... it's kind of there, but it's not nearly what it was a month ago. It's declined in stature. I think people are trying to look elsewhere because the deck has sort of played out. Whether or not that means it'll be well positioned for this weekend, as it has less of a target on it, remains to be seen. But you're going to get put to the test now with a very aggressive deck. This is what Golgari decks were sort of built to beat when they were first came in, when you saw a lot of the gruesome Menagerie Wild Growth Walker builds, very good against aggressive strategies. You're a little bit in between. You've got 2 Wild Growth Walkers in the main, 2 in the sideboard, as I mentioned before the break. And I think those are going to be really critical cards, so I'm excited to see how they play, and I'm really just excited to curve out and stomp you.
Yeah. Your deck, obviously, you're going to be playing the white, splashing red for heroic reinforcements. Sideboard, I think you have some experimental frenzies. But for the most part, I think that those are most of your red cards. You have Integrity Intervention, I believe. Yeah. 2 experimental frenzies.
Yeah. So very low to the ground, aggressive white deck. We got History Benalia, and which I like.
I mean, that seems to be like most of the matches you win on Versus Live just come on the back of turn 3 history, turn 4 history. Or at least that's the narrative that Brad likes to produce, because, that's the only way Brad loses, when Ross gets super lucky. So
so you put the cards in your deck for a reason.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be playing a white aggressive deck. This is our pick. As we mentioned, Tom Ross is going to be playing the Pro Tour this weekend. Gotta figure he's going to be playing this thing, or something like it. This is the 8-0 list from the mocks last weekend, so a deck that performed very well in a very competitive field, and let's see how it works out.
All right, let's roll some dice. You goes first. Let's do you call odd or even.
I'll take odds.
All right, add them together. It's even
Still
again.
even.
All right,
Box
I'll be on the play.
cards.
All right, we got any questions from chat before we get started?
Question from T Drizzle wants to know, can the white aggressive decks move to Resplendent Angel as for some late game against the mid-range decks? And I think we did see this in Brad's Boros Angels deck, right? Which is quasi-aggressive.
Yeah, that's more. It's the Angels deck is an aggressively slanted mid-range deck, whereas this is a pure aggressive deck.
Mhm.
I think Resplendent Angel runs into some issues in a deck like this, namely against Deafening Clarion. It's a card that just runs you straight into it without a lot of value. This is not a deck that is going to readily get to the mana you need to actually activate it and start going over the top of anyone, unless you're getting settled or Assassin's Trophied a couple times, which is unlikely. So I don't think it's the right card for a deck like this. I think if you're looking for late game staying power, you're going to be looking into Experimental Frenzy, which is great with your low curve, and you're going to be looking into a Johnny Adversary of Tyrants.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with all that.
And other than that, there's more questions about Greg Ostertag for Ross.
What about Greg Ostertag?
I just want to know.
Jazz legend.
Okay. I guess we'll just get started then.
And
so we don't
people
have
are
to talk
pumped about
the
Tom
jazz.
Ross.
Yeah.
So,
All right. I'm going to keep my opener. It looks okay.
Yeah, I have a solid hand. I actually need more lands in this hand. My curve's a
Yeah.
little high. Oh no, Llanowar Elves.
Yeah, every draw with this deck that starts with Llanowar Elves is so much better than a draw that doesn't. Until you get hit with a Clarion, and then you're just like, why is Llanowar Elves in my deck?
I don't think any creature I play here is likely to attack next turn, because Todd is either going to play Wild Growth Walker or maybe Jade Light Ranger or something like that. So I'm going to get the Legion's Landing down and get myself a Vampire.
I don't know how common it is, but I actually like playing Legion's Landing as a surprise. Because your opponent sometimes is not incentivized to block in certain ways and things like that. Your turn. Plus, if I just don't have a 2-drop, because a lot of decks are playing a lot more Memorial. Here, I am not. Obviously, I'm not going to block this, right? Because I really want to make sure I hit my turn 4 next turn. So I think it's actually better to just always play the 2-power creature if you have it.
19 to 21.
Yep.
Also, just to clarify for people, the thing with Tom Ross in the Pro Tour, he tweeted out an image of him getting the player email, apparently. So
Yeah. Nothing is beneficially confirmed, but we're all assuming.
All right. I will just go ahead and tempo-wise Chupacabra on the Vampire. I could target the Adanto Vanguard instead of the Vampire token to force him to pay 4 life. And then when he attacks, I can force him to pay 4 more life. But I think I just want to try to keep him off of Legion's Landing as long as possible.
Okay, let's mush for 3.
I'm fine with it. 16.
16, and I'm going to cast a Knight of Grace and then a Dauntless Bodyguard targeting the Knight of Grace.
Sure.
This is another reason to hold the Bodyguard so I could actually get value out of its ability.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now I'm set up to transform my Legion's Landing on the following turn.
All right, we're going to play a Vivian Reed. Now I have to think. I can just minus and kill the Legion's Landing to try to win the long game. That also like force him to attack everything here, or at least 2 things here, and it'd probably be these 2 because then I could just block this. If I tick this up, he has to have a spot removal spell for me to lose the Vivian, but he's going to get to flip Legion's Landing. But I don't know how big of a deal that is based on my current hand, and with the way my current hand is, I actually just super want to dig for some more creatures to block. So I think I'm going to plus. All right, so top 4. Creature or land. Guess we'll just get an elf. Your turn.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty happy to see that.
Yeah.
An interesting turn here. Wow. That makes it even more interesting.
Uh-oh. Cliff top reinforcements. Brand new.
So here it's 16.
Yep. That's a scary question / statement.
I think
It's like when you're at 10, the burn deck is just like, what are you at? Like, well, I didn't know I was about to die.
I think at this point, I don't want to spend time attacking down this Vivian. It's just a lot of loyalty to get down. Its ability doesn't do a ton.
Just bring it, baby.
I'm transforming the Legion's Landing this turn,
Yeah.
and that's all the minus is ever doing. So I actually don't. I think I just want to kill Todd And the best way to do that is going to be starting with Benelish Marshal here.
Oh, I thought you were playing heroic reinforcements.
Mushing you, transforming Legion's Landing.
Block this.
Yep, these trade. You take
6,
7.
8. 4, 8.
Oh yeah, this is 4. Yeah, sorry. So you go to 8, and then post combat play retreat and a Vanguard.
Okay.
So I get to double spell by transforming.
I'm really sorry, Ross. I'm really, really sorry.
What do you have?
Finality. All right. I think Secret Squire is better than Branch Walker. All right.
I think you're gonna find out.
Yeah, you're gonna figure out what happens exactly.
Yeah.
We're gonna spin 6, play Finality, sweep the board, and now we have a Vivian versus an Adanto.
That's probably game winning.
Nice.
If I draw a 1-drop, I can win.
Did you draw 1-drop?
I did not.
Heroic for 4.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need to draw another one at some point. So this makes soldiers, get some air barrages.
Yep.
And mush you for 4.
They not. I thought they have vigilance. I guess no. They just have haste, right?
Yeah, the fact that the red-white deck can just have like draws of double heroics off the top for like wins.
So my plan, I was going to heroic reinforcements last turn, but I drew a 2-drop to go with Marshal to double spell. I thought that was better, and then just reinforcements the following turn. Finality would have been devastating regardless.
All right. I'm really sorry about all this, Ross.
What?
I'm just really sorry, man. Trigger.
Just crushing with all that value.
All right, Wild Growth Walker plus Jadelight Ranger. We're gonna explore twice. We're gonna gain 6 life up to 10. So first Jadelight is a land to the hand, and second one is another land to the hand. All right, your turn.
And that's the nail in the coffin. I don't think there's any winning from here.
We definitely got super lucky by peeling the Find Finality at the perfect spot.
I mean, you're literally dead without it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I could have gone Wild Growth plus Jadelight that turn.
The reinforcements
but I'm pretty sure I still would have been dead. I mean, I was at 16. I would have went up to.
Well, you were at 8 after the first
I was
deck.
at 8. You're
so you would have gone to 14, and I would have had these 4 and 2. It would have been this attacking all with +1/+1 from the reinforcements.
So I block these, and I take.
This would have been small.
No,
yeah. This would have been a 4. These would have been 5.
I could have. Yeah. I think I would have barely survived. I think I would have been at 14 and taken 12, but I would have killed nothing.
Yeah.
Look, I get it. I got super lucky. Now you're dead.
Walking of magic. How can I possibly win? So this thing gives all your creatures +2/+2 and trample and vigilance.
Oh, they get vigilance too?
Jeez.
Nice. I never actually read the ultimate because I've always been the control player.
Yeah.
Just conceded on the spot. So creatures you control get +2/+2, have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. Nice. So it's like an overrun that's indestructible and vigilance forever. Nice.
Attack you.
Block.
Okay. I just wanted to get a trade so that one creature would be off. You can go.
Okay.
Well, then now you just like Mortuary Mire, the Jadelight Ranger.
All right, make an emblem. Get back Jadelight. Play it. They don't have haste too, right? That'd
No.
cool.
It's not Domri.
Okay. Jadelight. I will keep that on top. I will gain 6 more up to 16.
Yeah, this trade actually wasn't good.
And then I'll attack with these 2 for
10.
6. Yep. You're at 11.
11.
Your turn. You're dead. There.
You can go.
I mean, we don't have to keep playing. I don't know why. I mean, you can't ever attack through my stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm very dead.
Okay.
I think I might just be dead this turn, but
Maybe.
whew.
I got a third sub of the day here from Flaming Gnome coming in.
What's up?
And then we have some questions with thoughts on the red burn deck that splashes black for the Punisher stuff like Sword Point Diplomacy.
I like that deck. I have not played a game with it. I have no idea how good it is, but I like it.
I have played against that deck approximately. It's either 2 times or 3 times. I've played against it multiple times on Magic Online. I have not come close to winning a game. Just throwing that out there. I played it. I think twice with Jeskai Control and once with Mono Red, and my opponent just embarrassed me. Sword Point Diplomacy is so much better than I ever gave it credit for, because you're literally presenting your opponent with either like lands that you can translate into like risk factors later on, or just like 3 damage burn spells. Like if your entire deck is just 3 damage burn spells, they either take 3 or they take 3 later. And you know, as long as you're not under an immense amount of pressure, like you just have enough time to burn your opponent out no matter what they're doing, as long as they don't just go like 1 drop into 2 drop into 3 drop. And sometimes even when they do that, I think there's the 2-mana black burn spell that drains for 3. Like that one can like buy you some time. I forget, like something bite or Sovereign's Bite maybe.
Yeah.
I just always think of Alms of the Vein and those.
Yeah,
types
Alms of the Vein
cards.
is like the old one that had
Okay.
Madness, and there's a new one that's just for like from Core Set 2019 that's just like black and 1.
I think you're right. It's Sovereign's Bite.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Like a vampire sovereign.
But yeah, I think that deck's pretty sweet. I don't know how good it is, but I haven't beaten it, and I don't think I'm ever gonna.
Maybe
But I've
we'll-
never beat a burn deck in my life. So
Maybe we'll see some sort
Wild
of.
Growth Walker seems like a problem.
yeah, shut up.
Maybe we'll see some diplomacy at the Pro Tour. We got Havarath with the sub
Oh, what's up, dude?
number
Thanks.
4 here on the day, and people keep asking about Grixis Control versus Jeskai Control.
Do you want me to take that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeskai Control is very. I haven't played a lot with Grixis Control. The matchups that the matches that I do play with Grixis Control, I'm pretty regularly leaning on things like Nicol Bolas the Ravager to do a lot of the heavy lifting, not only to try to like drain my opponent of resources, but also to act as like your in-game effect. The problem with that is that a lot of times you create this tempo black hole where you cast a Nicol Bolas on 4 on a relatively safe battlefield, and then your opponent gets to play a Vivian Reed and minus, or they get to play a Ravish Chupacabra and kill it. And that leaves you in a spot where not only did you not kill the thing that was already on the battlefield before, but you're also left with this thing that you have to deal with in some way or another very quickly, or else it's going to start snowballing. With Jeskai Control, you don't really leave yourself vulnerable to things like that because you don't really play a lot of creatures. Some versions play Crackling Drake. I've never been a huge fan of those, but they are pretty sweet alongside Deafening Clarion, so I get it. But I've just thought that in a lot of spots, because you don't have access to Deafening Clarion, a lot of times your Ritual of Soot is like a turn too late. Your win conditions don't use you don't use Teferi as your win condition, so you're just a little more vulnerable to spot removal no matter what you choose, whether that's Doom Whisper or Niv-Mizzet. One version of Grixis Control I saw recently, one of the people who's a mod on my channel, VTCLA, he goes pretty hard in standard when it comes to like playing and acquiring trophies. He's like top 5 in the leaderboard or whatever. And his most recent concoction that a lot of people have been copying is this Grixis Dragons list that plays Dive Down main deck. And Dive Down might seem kind of like a weird inclusion in a deck that plays Niv-Mizzet, but if you go on turn 7, play a Niv-Mizzet with Dive Down mana, the odds of you winning are very high unless you're dead that turn. And from my perspective, like I've played against a couple of decks that played Niv-Mizzet before with Dive Down as a means of protection. I always just kind of laughed it off. And then the moment that, I actually like it sinks in that they're going to get to untap with this Niv-Mizzet and there's nothing I can do about it. The game is over right then, because as far as I'm concerned, if you untap with Niv-Mizzet and you don't win, you have built your deck wrong, or your draw has been so bad that the Niv-Mizzet can't save you. But that is so rare because every single card you play should draw you another card. So I think that that combination of cards was pretty cool. But I haven't really seen, other than that, I haven't seen a Grixis deck that I really liked, and I've seen a lot of Jeskai decks that have intrigued me. But I think both are kind of bad right now. Let's go leave that.
Yeah,
Okay.
from my experience, the Grixis deck just not being able to Clarion on 3 means the aggro decks just get to do whatever they want, and then they burn you out after you sweep on 4.
Yeah.
Whereas Clarion gives them enough time to where they don't fear the burnout plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you discount, like in some versions of the standard metagame, you're not going to have hyper aggressive decks. Like we saw for a while, there was just control, mid range, Golgari, whatever. Mono red kind of fell off the map. Mono blue was thought of as a joke, and the white base aggressive decks were kind of up and coming, but weren't really there. And in those metagames, like Grixis Control is pretty good because you don't really need that sweeper to buy you the time, and you can instead play things like Disinformation Campaign or Thief of Sanity to generate this engine starting on turn 3 that a lot of opponents are going to have a tough time dealing with as the games go long. The problem with the Grixis decks for me has always been making the games go longer because you just don't have a lot of the tools to really do that. Like your removal doesn't line up well in some scenarios, like Knight of Grace just kind of pounds you early. When people went away from that and more towards Tocatli Honor Guard, yeah, you gain a lot more time. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling because we need to play more Magic, I guess. So we're going to take a short break here while we sideboard. Wait, did we already play a game? Yeah, I won very easily.
Played game 1.
It's been okay. We're going to take a 3-minute break while we figure out sideboards for game 2. All right, we're here for sideboarding. Ross, you're going to be on the play for game 2. So tell us about your sideboard.
So I'm a little unsure how I'm supposed to approach this matchup. I know I want access to the Frenzies and the Ajani in the sideboard. Give myself a little bit more staying power. I think I want Baffling End to deal with Wild Growth Walker. Just a clean answer. And while the Golgari decks do have plenty of ways to answer enchantments, you see those cards that do answer enchantments are not good against the rest of my deck. You see Todd's bringing out Vraska Golgari Queens. He's bringing out Assassin's Trophies. So your enchantments are actually going to stick around in the post-board matchups more often than they would pre-board because they just don't want those cards. So Baffling End will be a clean answer to Wild Growth Walker. I am bringing out Conclave Tribunal because I'm honestly just not that concerned about Todd's Planeswalkers. I think I'm going to beat the Planeswalkers by being ahead on the battlefield, not giving Todd a clean way to get one down or kill him if he tries to cast one. So I want to maintain a lot of threat density, so I'm just swapping Conclave Tribunal for Baffling End, and then I'm bringing out what I think is the least powerful creature in the deck in Healer's Hawk for the 4-drops. This does raise my curve a bit. I'm wondering if I'm supposed to be cutting some number of heroic reinforcements, assuming that I'm not going to get the just run you over draws as often because of Todd's removal, and then that card becomes a liability. So that might be a change I make for game 3. I'm also a little wary of cutting Healer's Hawk instead of something like Dauntless Bodyguard because this flies over all the Explore creatures and things in the early game. But for now, I'm just trying to keep my deck as powerful as it can be. And hope that works, especially when I'm on the play. I think if I'm on the draw, I might go towards a little bit lower curve, cut some of the reinforcements, bring back some Healer's Hawks, maybe trim on Dauntless Bodyguard, and maybe even have some Conclave Tribunals because the Planeswalker is a little bit more threatening. Yeah. So hopefully we get to a game 3 and I get to explore a little bit more.
Ross, a bunch of people in the chat are asking why no Honor Guard in this matchup.
Oh yeah, I forgot to bring in Tocatli Honor Guard.
Yikes.
Seemed like an oversight.
Chat to the save here.
Thanks. These are the kinds of things that I do.
To be fair,
make
I
it
also
seem
kind of
like
forgot about Honor Guard.
I am not good.
So I'm just gonna leave all my Assassin trophies.
But if you know me, you know this is the kind of thing I do. Where like I get the hard part right and then just miss something really easy. Yeah. This is just my personality.
Okay. So I'll just go over my side while you try to figure this out.
Well, now I think I have to just do the thing I was going to do anyway and trim on these. And
I mean, I guess Heroic Reinforcements is really good when your opponent is sweeping you, like from a Deafening Clarion deck. But if your opponent is just literally trying to build the most giant battlefield possible with things like Wild Growth Walker, then I think the Heroic Reinforcements is just a lot worse.
Yes.
I could be wrong on that. From my side, we want to make sure, I don't know why, I think Ross tricked me. I was going to cut the Assassin's Trophies, but I think you just have to be able to kill Tocatli Honor Guard. So we're going to leave those in. We're going to be bringing in some cast downs. Golden Demise is a really great sweeper against all of his early threats, especially History of Benalia, as long as he doesn't play the Benalish Marshal on 3. Wild Growth Walker obviously buys me a lot of time, although it does look kind of embarrassing against the Tocatli Honor Guard. So we need to make sure we have ways to deal with that. Vraska Golgari Queen is not very good in this matchup at doing much of anything other than minusing on a Tocatli Honor Guard. Things like Danto Vanguard can protect itself. Knight of Grace has protection, hexproof from black, and even History of Benalia creates a body in addition. So I think the minus on Golgari Queen is particularly bad, except against exactly Tocatli Honor Guard, and the plus is not very good either. Because most time we need most of our lands and we don't really want to sack our creatures because everybody has some relevance in just providing a blocker. Midnight Reaper, mostly for the control decks. Golgari Fine Broker, just kind of mopey 4-mana thing. Most of his removal is going to exile. If I ever block, it's usually going to be in a chump block scenario until I can find a big Wild Growth Walker. And then Eldritch Reborn just is kind of bad against decks that generate a bunch of 1/1s for very little value. So
yeah. So now that I'm cutting heroic reinforcements in some number, I'm okay with being a little bit less powerful on the early turns, which means I'm going to cut the creatures that don't attack well into Todd's creatures, and that means Legion's Landing and Dauntless Bodyguard. So we're going towards that plan that I talked about, that I would for game 3, because we now have this Tocatli Honor Guard that I literally just fanned right past it.
No, I understand. I mean, as someone
need this one.
as someone who plays a ton of Magic, when you're switching decks like pretty regularly, you do miss the minutia. Like you forget the little things that are very obvious because you're thinking about the overarching like storyline. You forget like why something is there in the first place.
Years ago, I was playing a Modern tournament, and I was playing Birthing Pod. My opponent was Affinity. And I lose game 1, and I do all my sideboarding, and then I mulligan to 5 in game 2. And then my first draw step of the game after mulliganing was Shriekmaw. And I just looked at it, I was like, that's a card I'm supposed to bring out, right? Because it doesn't kill artifacts. And I'm like, well, maybe it does, because my Shriekmaw was in a foreign language that I couldn't read. It was like Japanese or something. So I literally had to call over a judge and ask the Oracle text of a card that was in my hand.
You're smart.
To make sure that it did nothing.
Nice. I mean, it's 5-mana 3/2.
With fear. Or
Yeah,
whatever it
But
has.
fear is not good against Affinity. All right, we got any questions on the docket?
Minka222 says, is Golgari in a great place, or is just the white matchup not very good for the white deck?
Well, I mean, if he draws Honor Guard after sideboard, it could spell my doom. I think that the Wild Growth Walker versions are just significantly better than all the other versions against the aggressive decks. So I just think you're probably going to see a rise in the Wild Growth Walker package. I think that it's important to note that there is no perfect answer to any of these questions. Everything fluctuates from sometimes day to day, let alone week to week. And, we're just trying to do the best we can. Hopefully we're doing justice to some of your questions, but things change pretty quickly. So something that we said last week could just not be true for the Pro Tour,
And Basic 3 says, don't feel too bad. I've seen a Shriekmaw have to kill someone's own Malira before.
Wow.
Ross, why no Plague Crafter in the 75? I feel like that should be going to
me.
Todd.
So Plague Crafter is I honestly love Plague Crafter as a card in the Gruesome Menagerie versions of this deck. Although I think that we're in a spot right now where Midnight Reaper is actually better against the control decks than the one you just said that I for some reason I just blanked on. The card you
Plague Crafter.
Then Plague Crafter. Even though Plague Crafter can handle it, the Fairy, it gets around the gate, gets around to Saneville Stroke. It's not something that you're ever wanting to cast on turn 3, whereas Midnight Reaper can be this aggressive threat that they have to deal with, and if they ever cast Deafening Clarion, they just get blown out. I don't think Plague Crafter is particularly good against white aggro. I think it's okay against red aggro, and it's pretty bad in the mirror. So I'd say overall Plague Crafter is like a C- as far as current metagame well positioned. And Midnight Reaper is like either an A+ or an F, depending on the matchup.
And speaking of Birthing Pod, Phil3055 wants to know, is Pod too good for Modern still? And I have a hard no, it is not too good for the format right now. What do you guys think?
It might be. Pod was great when we had Splinter Twin and like other really powerful decks. Birthing Pod is a messed up Magic card. When you get
K-Command
to
exists.
Demonic Tutor what exists?
K-Command. Colligan's Command.
It's not just about like having artifact removal for your things.
It's fine.
Like, are the K-Command decks even good?
I have Ancient Grudged plenty of Birthing Pods in my day, and I very easily lost to the rest of the creatures, the mopey things they played, or the one activation they got where they got to sacrifice a Kitchen Finks and get a Murderous Red Cap or
a Restoration Angel, just blink the Finks.
Blink the Finks, yeah. And
I just want the fun back.
But when they go like mana creature into Finks, into pod, sack the Finks, get rest out, and then you spend your turn dealing with the pod, Your opponent has 6 power in play and gets to continue to develop their board.
Yeah, and they took basically no points of damage from their birthing pod because they
Because
gained
of the
life
things.
off the kitchen.
You keeping your 7 over there?
Yeah, mine's great.
So I've got a solid 6 after having a 1-lander with no 1-drops. And I do think I want this one on top. And I'll start with Plains and Sky Marcher Aspirant.
All right. Go.
Okay, that's mush for 2.
18 me.
And play Chakotli Honor Guard.
That's a good one.
Pass the turn. Got a Merfolk Branchwalker over there.
Go. Actually, I'm gonna play this.
Okay.
Go.
So I played Honor Guard there on turn 2 so that I could cleanly play this Benelish Marshal on 3 in the face of a Wild Growth Walker, which is perfect. Let's mush with both, I guess.
Take 3.
Brings you to 15.
Blocking.
Yeah.
Guard, obviously.
Pass.
Okay.
This curve, as opposed to starting on this on 2, which would have been more aggressive, is better against Golden Demise.
Go.
Now I feel like something is getting trophied. Not the best. I don't think there's any sort of combat trick Todd has here to get me, so let's just attack.
I mean, I think I'm gonna block here and then just.
Oh yeah, that's how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the combat trick, killing this. So I guess I can't really attack with this? That's awkward. I mean, I don't have enough aggression to make that worth it, so I guess I do have to just attack with both.
All right, I'm just gonna trophy this so I take less damage, and I'll take 3 down to 12.
So I guess I'll play a Vanguard and pass the turn.
You have 1 card left.
Yep.
Okay, I guess we'll play Seeker Squire. Gonna trigger.
Brings you back up to 15.
Yeah.
Probably don't want that one.
That one in the grave. Oh, say go. Don't have a land drop.
No land
unfortunately,
is
for me.
great.
Yep.
And if I draw a spell I can cast, I'm in good shape. That's a spell I can cast.
All right.
Chakotli Honor Guard,
this
get the
gets
Star
big.
City's Blessing. And I don't want to attack with Marshal because it gets cleanly double blocked. Whereas no other block is particularly good. So let's just attack with these 2 now that the Aspirant is flying.
All right. This will block a Danto.
I will pay 4 life.
Yeah.
Brings me to 16. You
I'm gonna
take 3, go to
down
12. Pass the turn. Swamp and a Golden Demise here would still be very good.
Now the question is, do I just play a Seeker Squire as a 1/2 so I have an extra blocker? I think I have to.
Yeah.
I'm not dead otherwise, but I need to threaten to double block the Benelish Marshal. Your turn.
Is definitely an important thing that I think some people wouldn't do. When Todd's really far behind here, he just needs to empty his hand and buy time. And so sometimes that requires playing your cards for less than optimal value. Okay, so what happens if I attack with everything, which is what I would like to do?
So
I
if
assume the double
here,
block on
we
Marshal, you take
4,
9.
7, 9 down to 3, and then you kill this, but you still have this versus this. If I Golden Demise you after that, then I don't
basically
think you can
dead.
win anymore.
Yeah. The
So
thing is, what my other option is to attack like this.
Yep.
Maybe you chump block with the Seeker Squire. Then
I don't. I think I just
you take it. Because then if you say you chump and take 3, go to 9, and then Golden Demise me, I'm left with these, and I'm just attacking for 2, and that's not a good position. But I can draw some things, and
That's
you're
fair.
at 9, and you have to rip a swamp for that. Yeah. I think
actually you can attack with everything, right? Because if you attack with everything, I'd have to double block this because blocking this does nothing. I can't eat it.
I think I just
'cause this
attack
has
with these
4
2.
toughness. Okay, I'll take 7. I'm at 5.
Pass the turn.
Well, no, I'm gonna block here. I'm gonna
Okay,
take
so you
2.
go to 9.
If I need to draw black now, or I think I'm just dead.
Pass.
What about a second Vraska Relic Seeker? Am I dead? I mean, if I don't play anything, you're just 100%
Block
attacking
here.
with
You
everything, so-
would chump here and take 8.
All right. I had a very good shot of winning this game if he had not drawn this, because I could have triggered this, gotten rid of the Vraska.
Yeah.
I would have just drawn Elf, but the 3 life point buffer was pretty big. My hand was just a bunch of double black things that I couldn't cast, and this one was obviously shut off for a while, but any of these would have been devastating if I had drawn the second black. But sometimes you just don't.
Todd, don't you find that a Fine Broker would be good in a matchup against Vanguards and Knights?
Not really. Like, he's trying to pump them like pretty regularly with Banash Marshall. And it's not really going to be getting anything back unless I chump block early, since all of his spot removal is exile based, and none of my blocks early on are very good because either his creatures can get indestructible or have first strike. Like, obviously, if game 1 he has a bunch of Dauntless Bodyguards and things that I'm going to be trying to trade with, with my Branch Walkers and Seeker Squires, but that's just not going to happen nearly as much after game 1. The way they sideboard, usually most of their X1s come out, or a good number.
A lot of people calling you out for missing triggers, but those were not going on the stack because the honor card was in play. So
okay, that's weird.
That's the Urborg of this standard format.
Yeah,
Takali honor guard shuts off almost death. That's why I killed it with Assassin Trophy the first time, and then I got the 1 activation on the Seeker Squire, and then the second one was turned off. All right, we're gonna mulligan a 1-lander. Just want lands and spells.
you need to start playing the 1-mana card that target creature explores, so you can trigger your walker through
Nice.
honor guard.
Nice. I actually have seen a lot of the Wild Growth Walker Path to Discovery decks. Those decks are sweet. They go March of the Multitude, and like all their tokens get to explore, so they're all either 2/2s or draw you a bunch of lands. But if you have Wild Growth, you gain 100 life.
It's like Wild Growth into Jade Light into Path into Tristani. You're dead.
Yeah, it's so much damage and life that I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, you have to have exactly Cleansing Nova or you're dead.
Maybe that deck's awesome for this weekend.
Funny question here from Aaron Frey to both of y'all. What's your least favorite standard deck ever?
The stupid hexproof deck from 4 years ago,
The Naya one?
No, the Bant one.
Yeah, there was a Bant one, right?
The one that won
Visible
Grand
Stalker?
Prix Atlantic City.
Yeah, John Stern played it.
Oh.
I hated that deck. I hated it. I don't know why. I mean, obviously hexproof is just... I just hate hexproof in general. I know I like Geist of St. Traft a lot, but it's not like my entire deck was hexproof. I wasn't suiting them up with Spirit Away or whatever, But
put some influence courage.
All right, my hand is not good, but I have to keep it and hope that I peel a land. I have bottomed a 6-drop.
My 7 is not that good. I wonder if this is a mulligan.
Let's talk about it.
It has an early curve. It's just a little land heavy. And it's land heavy while missing red. So I can't draw Rogue Reinforcements and Experimental Frenzy as good draws.
Yeah, I always hate draws like that in aggressive decks where you have to draw, you're already a little flooded, but you need to draw the right color of a different land to actually turn your hand on.
But I do have 1-drop, 2-drop, which is a nice start.
Yeah, but is that good enough on the draw? If it's Takali Honor Guard, I think it's this. If it's not Takali, then I think you have to throw it back.
Yeah, it also has a red card, and I think this is a mulligan.
Yeah, and Ross still needs to answer the least favorite standard deck question.
I'm thinking about it, and
people want to know why no Carnage Tyrant in your deck, Todd. Of course.
Was this a Mox deck?
Yes.
Okay. So this week we tried to pull as many decks from the Magic Online Championship as possible. The Carnage Tyrant versions of Golgari are pretty good in the mirrors and against control, but they are traditionally very bad against aggressive decks because your 6-drop is a 7/6 with no text, and something like Vraska Relic Seeker can come down, unlock something from a Conclave Tribunal. It can actually just close the game very quickly by generating a bunch of bodies. It plays defense super well. It can take out creatures that are effectively killing you. Whereas Carnage Tyrant is just kind of just this mopey giant. It's good, obviously, but it's worse against aggressive decks. And this version, I think, is standout against the aggressive decks, and that's why it did so well.
And then Lol Carrots wants to know what's the best way to build/win the mono red mirror.
I don't know, man. I have no idea. Draw better. Don't leave risk factor in your deck after sideboard. Draw Experimental Frenzy on curve. That's it. Rekindling Phoenix is very good, but it's going to get hit with Lava Coil like a lot. But if it doesn't get hit with Lava Coil, try not to block with it because then it'll get Chain Whirlered. That's all I got.
I think being mindful of not extending into their Chain Whirler, knowing when to deploy threats to try to beat Lava Coil, and then hoping to stick Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah, I try not to play Steamkin on the draw ever, and I try not to play on the play very much because if they go Mountain Go, there's no way I play a Steamkin on 2 because they just have shock like always. Because if they don't have 1-drop creature, they have shock unless they've mulliganed to 5, and then maybe you can justify it. I also want to play Steamkin on the same turn where I can protect it from a Chain Whirler. I also want to play Steamkin as one of my last cards because it's so good with Frenzy that you just want to make sure that it's like the last creature you have left. And you want them to burn all their Lightning Strikes and Shocks on your Lava Runners and Fanatical Firebrands and Vaishno
Pyromancers.
So.
I keep trying to think of a standard deck that I hated, and I can't really think of one. The closest I get is the mono red deck that had Burning Tree Emissary 5 years ago. It's like anytime I tried to play that deck, it looked horrible. Every time my opponents played against me, I was just dead on turn 4 every time.
Yeah.
Not like Green White Devotion.
No, I played that deck in one tournament, and it was fun.
Yeah, you would. All right, can we scry?
Yeah.
Can we play Magic?
If that deck had stuck around for a while, I wouldn't have liked it. But it was there for one tournament, and it was fun for one tournament.
No, I was there for 2.
Mecha Chief Z with the sub. Appreciate that.
So
I
kind of want this third land to make sure I play my 3-drop on time, but I also want to draw a 1-drop here with this hand. So it's a question of how risky I want to get. I think I don't need to hit a 3rd land drop on time with this hand, but if I hit a 1-drop, it's a huge advantage, so I'm going to bottom.
Okay.
I am great.
You're so smart. That was a good draw. Go.
Okay, well now you're just a jerk and I'm never going to draw a land. Pass.
How am I the jerk?
I just can't attack. I'm
Go.
dead.
Love it.
Donto Vanguard.
Sure.
Pass the turn.
I don't really want a trophy. He's not really pressuring me that much. All right.
Just trophy my Honor Guard, untap, cast Golden Demise, I'm dead.
Go.
Ooh.
Just gonna wait for him to do something.
I'm gonna attack you for 3.
Okay, I'm at 17. You got me.
I'm gonna play another Donto Vanguard.
Okay. Nebraska's contempt this and go to 19.
You can go.
I'm gonna draw.
I'm dead.
You are dead. I'm gonna play Jade Light. Top.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
You're
I'll gain
25.
6. 25. And I'm actually gonna attack.
17.
Go. What's this do again? Is this one any good against your... Wait, 1 toughness. 1 tough... What's happening? What's this? Wait, this one had 3 toughness.
Attack. They're gonna die anyway.
Yeah. I'll take...
Take 6. You're at 19. I drew another Honor Guard, but I'm not sure it matters.
Yeah, maybe not. We'll attack first, I think.
Well, I felt smart when I drew the 1-drop. I'm feeling a lot less smart now that I don't have a 3rd land. And the 1-drop literally didn't do anything. Yeah, that's 7.
Yeah.
Brings me to 10.
Okay. Second main. So I don't want to give him the land, but I kind of don't want to play Golden Demise right now because I have him on a sick clock. And
I mean, you're not losing any creatures to your Golden Demise.
no, I know.
You just want to add another creature to the battle.
Yeah, I want to add a Seeker Squire, but I think it's just safest to do this. So go. I can always go Trophy into Squire next turn if I need to, or just use it during combat.
This land 3. How do I get out of this? Like, I can't win a race here. I need to actually play for a long game, and that requires starting with History of Benalia here.
Okay.
Passing the turn.
No attacks.
Nope.
Odd. So attack these, double block this, but I get to kill Tocatli, or I can just Assassin Trophy mid combat and kill both. All right,
Double block your J-Light Ranger.
Do I give him the land? Is there? Okay, so this is actually a weird spot where if I use Assassin Trophy, I actually just get kind of beat up by the intervention integrity or whatever it's called, integrity intervention. I kind of just want to let this happen, but it takes away a lot of my pressure. So I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna target the Tocatli Honor Guard to make sure that it dies, and then you're gonna take 3. So you're at 7.
Yep.
And second main, play a Squire. Got the land. I'm gonna play it. Trigger this. I go to 22. All right, 22-7. Here we go.
Like a knight.
Yep. This is for demoralizing reasons. Just so y'all know. I just
Yeah.
really want Ross to give up now.
Well, seeing as my late game plan was an enchantment, and this card looks rather embarrassing.
Did you really bottom a land when you have an experimental frenzy?
I
in
did
hand?
not have the frenzy in my
Okay.
hand.
Did you have the heroic reinforcements?
No.
Okay.
I had 3 2-drops and History of Benalia and 2 lands. I shuffled from the trophy.
Sure. You just but you had 2-drop on the History of Benalia and you just threw
But I
away
had,
the
two,
land.
I had 2 other 2-drops.
Who cares?
I wanted a 1-drop.
History of Benalia. That's the only way you win. We've already been over this.
History would not have done anything.
Yeah.
But literally nothing I did in this game would have done anything. Wild Growth Walker, just as a 1/3, like it gives you so much time to play through Honor Guard. Like
Oh, yeah.
one forces Honor Guard to happen, then gives you time to play through it, and then you just kill the Honor Guard on curve and just explore anyway.
Are we done? Or?
This is why cards like this are rarely good. Like you have to have it immediately. You have to have that hope they don't have an answer, and then like your aggressive deck has a 2-mana 1/3 in it, and you can't attack them.
Yeah, I'd much rather just have lightning strikes and kill the thing.
I mean, Honor Guard, I just never dealt with Wild Growth Walker. None of my cards do anything.
You can cast heroic reinforcements and attack for
10.
like 10. Yeah.
7. I
That's a
only
lot,
have one
yeah.
night.
Honor less
Yeah.
Miriam for the name there.
I don't know. Maybe there's a different way. Maybe you have to bring out all the reinforcements and go long, but I don't want to play in a way to go long against you. And if you just go all in on aggression, you're just going to get blown up by Golden Demise or Wild Growth Walker. So it's I don't know. This matchup seems hard.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'll say this. I think there is a chance that the reasons the heroic reinforcements act did so well this past weekend is because Golgari fell off the map. And I think it fell off the map because it's not very good against Jeskai Control. What deck is good against Jeskai Control is a heroic reinforcements deck. So it's possible that we're having this like weird cannibalization
Rock, paper,
or
scissors.
Boros type deal, you know.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. We saw less Golgari in the results of the mocks. The Golgari has been such a big part of the metagame for so long that basically we're at the point where almost every deck is built with Golgari in mind, and that's the point where you see people start to move away from those sorts of decks. They become 40. That's when they become the sort of 45% decks. They're a little bit behind, but close against everything because you can only do so much against a deck that powerful. And if that was the case, then yeah, the white decks became well positioned. So maybe they're a flash in the pan to crush the control decks. That makes sense to me. But like this matchup fell hard, and I drew. Well, I won game 1. I won game 2 when you stumbled. But like,
yeah,
I was I guess like I was close to winning game 1. I had a really strong curve, and you just had the finality on turn 5 on the play.
Yeah, and
if you don't have that, then
things are a lot different.
Yeah,
for sure.
Granted, you didn't have Walker that game, but you only have 2 Walkers in the main. So maybe game 1 is supposed to be better. And I'm being a little bit biased based on how bad that game 3 felt. And you were on the play. So like maybe this matchup's closer than I thought now that I really think about it. But game 2, I feel like I got away with one because you just stumbled on lands for a long time. Like if you draw a swamp earlier in that game's not even close.
Yeah, either I get to Golden Demise away like 2 or 3 creatures on the third turn, or I get to unlock Vraska's Contempt, which takes care of either Tocatli or something else, and then that turns on like my Wild Growth Walker hand.
Yeah.
So
that
it's a give and take. I think it's. I mean, I don't think it's like super lopsided, but I do think that the Golgari deck, this particular build has the tools, especially after sideboard, to interact in a very positive and meaningful way against the white base aggressive decks. And if you are looking to beat those this weekend at the Pro Tour, or if you're a local FNM or whatever, like that it might be the way to do it.
Yeah, there are plenty of Golgari lists that don't have Walker in the main and only have a couple in the sideboard, maybe don't have as many golden demises. So this is a list that was clearly prepared for aggressive decks. Probably one of the reasons it did well in the mocks, a tournament where aggressive decks also did well. So I could also definitely see this deck just burying Golgari decks that come unprepared for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to power through here. We are running a little behind on time, so we're going to take a quick break while we set up for round 3 and get your questions in at SCG Tour in the Twitch chat. Nick Miller is going to ask those while we are shuffling up for game 1 of round 3. We'll be right back.